The hum of the fluorescent lights in the parking lot was the only sound as I stepped out of the store. Another night. Another shift. I scanned the lot, pretending I wasn't looking for the car. But there it was, parked in the same spot, far enough to seem casual, close enough to watch. It didn't make sense. Why was it always there? I brushed off the thought, forcing myself to walk to my car. I checked the back seat before getting in, like always. Habit, or maybe paranoia. The drive home was quiet, the headlights of the car behind me feeling sharper than they should. I took a few random turns, but the car didn't follow. Not tonight. The next night, the pattern repeated. Same car, same spot. No one ever got out. I told myself it was nothing, someone waiting for a ride. Maybe. But when I reached my car, I saw it. My door was open, just a crack. My breath caught. I hadn't touched it since arriving. I peeked inside. Nothing was missing, nothing was out of place, but the air inside felt different. Stale. Watched. I didn't sleep that day. The following night, my stomach churned as I parked. The car was there again as if mocking me. I worked the shift, eyes flicking to the security cameras every chance I got, scanning the feed for anyone lingering. Nothing. And when my shift ended, I found it waiting for me. A photo of me from years ago. My high school graduation. It was tucked under the windshield wiper. My hands shook as I grabbed it and looked around. No one was there. Just the car, still in its usual spot. The air felt heavy, pressing on my chest. Whoever they were, they knew me. I started walking toward the car, determined to confront them, but as I got closer, the engine roared to life and the car sped away. I stopped in the middle of the lot, my heart pounding. The next night, I left work early, determined to catch them off guard. I parked in a different spot, closer to the store. My plan was simple: get to my car quickly, drive away fast, and see what happened. But when I stepped outside, the car wasn't in its usual spot. Relief swept over me. Maybe they'd given up. As I approached my car, I heard it, a car door slamming. I turned just in time to see headlights cutting through the dark, heading straight for me. I ran. My feet pounded against the asphalt as the car roared behind me, tires screeching. I ducked between two parked cars, heart in my throat. The car stopped, the engine idling. I could hear someone breathing nearby. I waited, barely daring to move. Eventually, the car sped off into the night. I didn't go back to that job. I reported everything, but they never found the car. Sometimes I still feel those headlights in my rearview mirror. The office was a maze at night, rows of cubicles stretched into the dark, their shadows stretching across the carpet. I worked the night shift, fixing computers and troubleshooting servers. The cleaning crew came and went, heads down, their carts rattling. They were polite, but distant, always disappearing into one section of the building and avoiding it after a certain time. Curiosity itched at me for weeks. It didn't make sense. What could they be avoiding? One night, I decided to find out. I walked toward the section. The lights flickered on automatically, casting a dim glow over the rows of desks. It felt abandoned. Paper scattered, chairs askew, dust gathering where it shouldn't have been. At first, I thought it was just neglected. Then I saw the blankets stuffed under a desk. Nearby, empty food wrappers and a pile of random objects, pens, a wallet, sunglasses. My stomach turned when I spotted my ID badge among the mess. Someone was living here. The air felt thicker, heavier. I stuffed my badge into my pocket and backed away. My head swam with questions. Had the cleaning crew seen this? Did they know? Or were they avoiding it because of this? I couldn't leave it alone. The next night I returned. The mess was gone. Everything, as if it had never been there. I searched frantically, opening drawers and flipping through files, my pulse pounding in my ears. Then I heard it. Footsteps. Slow, deliberate, muffled by the carpet, but unmistakable. They were close. My heart hammered as I turned toward the sound, but no one was there. "Hello?" I whispered, immediately regretting it. Silence. I stepped into the hall, listening. The footsteps returned, faster now, closing in behind me. I spun around just as someone emerged from the shadows. One of the cleaning crew. A man I'd barely noticed before. His face was blank, but his grip on the heavy tool in his hand told me everything I needed to know. I backed away, hands up trying to speak, but my words stuck in my throat. He stepped closer, his movements slow and deliberate. I turned and ran. The office blurred around me as I dodged through cubicles and slipped past desks, the sound of his footsteps steady behind me. I ducked into a small break room and pressed myself against the wall, struggling to keep my breathing quiet. The footsteps stopped outside. The door creaked open. I grabbed the nearest object, a coffee pot, and swung as he stepped inside. He grunted, dropping the tool, and I bolted past him, racing for the stairwell. I didn't stop running until I reached the street. I reported everything to my boss and the police. They found nothing in the office the next day. The cleaning crew didn't show up for their shift that night or ever again. Working nights at the gas station was usually uneventful. A few tired truckers, the occasional lost traveler, nothing out of the ordinary. But that night felt different the moment he pulled up. The car was old, headlights dim, engine sputtering as it rolled to a stop. The man stepped out, lanky, his movements jerky. His eyes darted around like he was searching for something, or running from it. I stayed behind the counter as he came in. "Hey," he said, voice shaky. "Which way to, the next town?" "North," I replied, keeping my tone flat. "About 20 miles. He nodded but didn't leave. Instead, he paced the aisles, mumbling to himself. I glanced at the clock. 2:13 a.m. When I looked back up, he was staring at me. "You sure it's north?" he asked again. "Positive," I said, forcing a small smile. He didn't respond. He just walked out, got in his car, and sat there, headlights off. Minutes passed. He didn't drive away. My gut tightened. I locked the door, pretending it was routine, and turned back to watch him. Then he started circling the station. At first it was slow, the car creeping around the pumps. Then he parked again, this time at the far end of the lot. The man got out, walking the perimeter, his eyes flicking toward the windows. I picked up the phone and dialed the police. "We're stretched thin tonight," the dispatcher said. "It'll be at least an hour." An hour. I hung up and scanned the station. The windows were big, the locks on the doors flimsy. I turned off the lights, hoping the darkness would make me invisible. Then the pounding started. He was at the front door, fists hammering the glass. "Let me in!" he shouted. My chest tightened as I backed away. The man moved to the side window, peering in. His face was twisted, his breaths fogging the glass. I grabbed a heavy flashlight from under the counter and ducked behind a shelf. The pounding grew louder. The glass groaned under the pressure. "You can't hide forever!" he yelled. I had to act. Staying still would get me nowhere. I crept toward the storage room. The emergency exit led to the back of the lot, but I couldn't risk him seeing me. The pounding stopped. Silence filled the air, thick and suffocating. I peeked out. He was gone. Or so I thought. A shadow moved near the back door. I gripped the flashlight tighter and crouched behind a stack of boxes. The door rattled. I hit the panic button under the counter, triggering a silent alarm. Minutes felt like hours as I waited, every creak and shuffle sending my heart racing. Finally, red and blue lights flashed outside. The man was gone, his car disappearing into the night. The officer who arrived told me they'd searched the area. I never saw him again.